Hey folks, and welcome. Today we're going to have a discussion about this book by Joe Abercrombie, The Blade Itself. This is book one in a trilogy called the First Law Trilogy, and it's followed by a second trilogy called The Age of Madness, and there's three standalone volumes and a book of short stories as well. Now, this is technically a reread for me. I read this around the time it came out, and really by 2024 didn't remember much about it. I didn't follow it up with the subsequent volumes, which may not even have been out at the time, but I have just finished rereading it, and let's talk about it. So despite owning the trade paperback editions of this book, I actually listened to the entire book on audiobook. The audiobook is narrated by Stephen Pacey, and it is way above average for audiobooks. It is a really outstanding audiobook production. So different people are into fantasy novels or fantasy series or epic fantasy or whatever for different reasons. Some people like the world building, some people like the plot, some people like the characters, some people like the dialogue. Abercrombie, at least as shown in this series, is better at some of those things than he is others, but I think on balance, he makes up for the difference. The plot here is, I think folks can generally agree, is fairly rudimentary. There's not a lot of story beats that happen in here, but the characters are dynamite. They are exceptionally vividly drawn. Abercrombie has kind of a fairly contemporary voice that doesn't always fit with a lot of fantasy, but it works fine here. And the dialogue is absolutely amazing. World building here also feels kind of rudimentary to me. It wouldn't have shocked me to find out that Abercrombie was making this world up as he goes along. There isn't even a map in here. There is a map in one of the much later volumes, but you don't have anything like a map in here. And to be honest about it, you don't need one. If you're reading this book, you're enjoying it for the characters and the dialogue and not necessarily as much for the world building and story beats. But those people who are really interested in world building and plot may find this somewhat unsatisfying. Now, I'm told there's more plot in the following volumes in the trilogy. I have just started the next book before they are hanged. So hopefully I'll be able to bring you some commentary on that when I have finished the book. It'll take a while because I'm listening to that book via audiobook as well. Now, for all that the book is relatively light on plot, when Abercrombie gets to an action scene, that action scene is relatively well done. There's not that many action scenes in the book. There's maybe 3 or 4, and none of them are super large. Although the last one, which happens toward the very end of the book, is more elaborate than the others. And all the fight scenes, all the battle scenes are extremely well done, extremely violent, extremely bloody. This is one of the books that is often pointed out as one of the quote-unquote grimdark books to read. I've never been exactly clear as to what that means. I feel like I can't put this in the same category as something like a Warhammer 40,000, for example, which is another example that people point out as being grimdark. So I feel like I don't really understand the descriptive use of that term at this point. Now, I listen to audiobooks at 1 speed. I recognize that a lot of other folks can get away with listening to it at faster speed. Some people even slow it down. I like to enjoy the natural cadence of the audiobook or the podcaster's voice. They decide when the dramatic pauses happen, for example. And the Stephen Pacey audiobook of The Blade itself works exceptionally well in this regard. And Pacey also uses a lot of different voices for the different characters as well. I do feel like it would have been possible to overdo that, but I don't think Pacey does in this case. Now, I don't think that a lot of readers would compare this to, say, something like Lord of the Rings, which has a very different voice, a very different structure. Nevertheless, this was extremely enjoyable. It also read very quickly. Even this huge trade paperback here is just about 540 pages, and the print is not incredibly small. So you can, if you're a fast reader, you can buzz through this fairly quickly. I enjoyed The Blade itself very much, and I'm very much looking forward to reading further volumes in this series, the additional trilogy, plus the short stories. Some of the short stories sound really intriguing. Now, there are 3 main characters, Logan, Jazal, and Inquisitor Glokta, that you follow for the bulk of the book. There are some other point of view characters, but they are much less important to the story as it develops in here, although I'm pretty sure we're going to see some more of several of them later on. So yeah, The Blade itself by Joe Abercrombie. I'm giving this 4.6 stars out of 5. It is recommended.